Okay, let's begin. What time is it? It's 7:04. We'll start with the pledge. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Okay. All right, everyone. Stefan, I don't believe we have any correspondence. I didn't see anything, right? No. And do we have any residents from town that have decided to log in?
There's one resident who's watching.
Oh, there is one resident. Okay. Anything anyone wants to say? Public session?
If you'd like to speak, just raise your hand, hit the raise your hand button, and we'll bring you in and speak.
Kelly just went off.
She's muted. Also,
Yeah, Kelly's muted and Kelly.
You might have done that intentionally for a moment.
Okay. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Bill, is there anyone there that wants to say something? No.
Doesn't appear to be.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the approval of the minutes. Everybody has a copy of the minutes from June. Everyone take a look at that. Anyone have any comments they want to make about that, the minutes?
I have to abstain, Rosemary.
Right.
Me
Right.
too.
And who was that?
I wasn't at the June meeting either.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have any corrections or any changes on the minutes? You want to have a motion?
move to accept.
Okay. All in favor?
We need a second. We need a second.
Oh, second. Who's seconding?
I'll
I'll
second.
do.
Okay. All right. And Joan. Okay, so we've got John who made the motion and Kelly. No, what was it? Nancy? Nancy second. Okay, all in favor? Except the minutes is read? Aye. Okay, nays, and we have 2 abstentions, right?
But
Okay, Kelly and Joan.
you want absence.
Okay.
Oh, Rosemary, do we have anybody taking minutes or what do we need to do about that?
Stefan usually does.
Oh, okay, great.
Hopefully,
Thanks.
right? Stefan, you're still taking minutes?
I am.
Good, all right, thank you.
And
Okay, let's go into the director's report.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen real quick. And there we go. So I'm going to start to just show this. We're going to talk about the reopening plan and some of the ongoing programs that we have. The reopening plan is really what we're going to be talking about for the most part. And I have a lot to share in that regard. Do you want me to actually just talk about the ongoing stuff real fast so that we don't lose track of time and then forget about them?
Sure,
Okay.
that's
So-
okay with everyone.
MSW, the Massive Social Work Program, has technically officially launched. It is going out in the newspapers this week. It should be in the Trumbull Times on, well, tomorrow's Trumbull Times and elsewhere. And we are going to be pushing it in social media as well. It is on the website, along with, functional links to have people fill out a form, a questionnaire, so that we can kind of better guide people to the type of resources that they need to have help with. The social worker is a Sacred Heart University Masters of Social Work graduate student who is in her final placement, meaning that this is the last thing that she will need to graduate, but she's with us for the entire year, which is great for us. She also has a lot of experience working in the sort of collaborative kind of activity virtually that we've been trying, what we're going to be doing. She's been working for the state of Connecticut in social services and she's been also partnering with, I believe, the Jewish Federation and some of the other nonprofits in the area in order to provide services during this time. So she's kind of well acquainted with the type of thing that we've been talking about. She met today with Michelle Jacob, who is the Director of Social Services and the Senior Center. And she's also going to be moving forward and meeting with the interns that are going to be working with social services in order to better lay out lines of communication and share resources moving forward. Any questions about the Master Social Work Program? I know I've talked about it before, but it has been something that so far we've actually gotten some well-received responses, both from the public and from other library systems that have been cheering us on as a result of doing this. So there's been quite a bit of interest. But I will let you also know how it moves going forward.
Look,
Yes.
the interns are working remotely from the library then, right? They can't come in?
Correct. For right now, it is going to be remote work. I will say, it is modeled off of other social work and library programs, like the ones that are in place in Long Island and elsewhere, which were really in person. Like the intern would go around, or the actual social worker who might be employed by one of these systems went around and actually, was there in person to talk to people inside the library. It is an opportunity, I think, in terms of connecting with people, particularly, vulnerable people during this stage. While COVID might seem to be getting more under control, there's going to be lasting damage in terms of employment status and family, stressors, everything from, we were just talking about, schools reopening and all that stuff that goes along with it. This is an opportunity for people to get assistance in various different ways that, the librarians at the library might not be suited for.
Wonderful.
Okay. Curbside program has been going very well. I sent out the statistics earlier. We did about 8,000 circulation in July and 9,000 in about 9,000 and a half in August. To put that in perspective, that's about in August we did about 35,000 last year, and that was in person. Which I should note is sort of skewed as well, simply because normally that is also a time when we're doing our summer reading program and we do a lot with kids and things of that nature. But if you think of that 9,000 figure as about a third of our monthly circulation, that's actually fairly good if you're considering that all of this is happening online or over the telephone in a completely non-contact environment. So we're actually very happy with those numbers.
Stefan,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bet that you've had an increase in your use of Overdrive and other electronic stuff that brings that curbside number much closer to the normal numbers.
Right. And in our Hoopla, for instance, we've doubled the usage statistics per month. That was already one of our biggest online, digital aspects, and the Overdrive has gone through the roof as well.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't have the statistics to share on those, but I will have them at the next meeting. But I wanted to bring these ones out to you. The curbside program obviously is something that we're going to keep on offering to the public once we do our opening, partly because, at least to begin with, the reopening plan is going to be, a partial reopening, simply because we have, only so many staff people, and we only have so many hours that we can serve. So, having the curbside program available throughout the day as it is now will at least allow people to, pick up their materials in the morning, at the times that we're not open to the public. Homebound delivery. So this has been going on. We've been taking materials to people who are not able to come to the library and participate in the curbside program, and then picking them up. We do this also in a non-contact way where, a patron is asked to leave their materials in a bag outside their house, and we pick them up and then we replace that bag with new materials that they've requested or that we've selected for them, whatever the arrangement was at that time. That has been very successful. I spoke with Rosemary and John about expanding that program in order to encompass some of the senior centers. We've reached out to them, and so far we have been, simply trying to figure out the logistics. Preferably, we will be able to set something up where there will be a defined time of the month where a senior center will be able to come and pick up materials for a group of them, so that they can bring, books and DVDs or whatever to their people, and then bring them back at the same time. And we think that that is a doable sort of scenario. We're still working out the kinks, but it should be something that, but it has been well received by the senior centers that have, senior facilities that have reached out back to us.
If that doesn't work, remember, we also made the suggestion that for the board to be part of helping doing this, that there are members of the board could actually make deliveries and pick up also, if Kathleen and all can't do it, and they don't, and the various assisted living areas can't either.
Right.
But I think that's something that we haven't spoken to the board about that, but it's asking for volunteers to help out in delivery if needed.
Yes, we did. Stefan, just curious, were there 5 just facilities that we contacted?
Yes.
It's Stern too, right? But added to that,
Say again? Sorry.
there are 5 facilities in town to which you can add Stern Village.
Yes.
Are they all included?
Yes. Yeah. Stern Village, the Epoch, I don't remember the name of that one. The St. Teresa's has some sort of senior facility, and then there were 2 others that I can't remember off the top.
Middlebrook Farms, maybe,
Yes.
on Reservoir.
Spring Meadows.
Yes.
There's
Spring-
The Parisian Tower is my guess for the,
Yeah, at St. Joe's,
yeah.
right.
So our hope is that we will be able to expand those resources to them. Obviously, those ones, that certain population might still has been hardest hit in terms of access to literature and or entertainment period. And they are also the ones that are highest at risk for not being able to contact loved ones in their current state, simply because some of those facilities have been very restrictive on allowing visitors and things of that nature. And we're hoping that this will alleviate some of that stress, at least, getting them back to at least some level of normalcy.
Good.
I will have more information on that as we keep moving. That said, the reopening plans really have been my primary focus this time. And let me get to that. So let me pick out. Okay.
Stefan, before you go into that, what about
Yes.
the custodian?
Well, that's part of this. So
Oh, okay. All right.
I spoke with the town. The custodian, or rather, as many of you know, Eric did leave at the beginning of August. This was a retirement that had been long planned. Like, it wasn't something that he just decided on. It was always in his, goal to retire at this point. And we have been told that Eric's position will be refilled. But in the meantime, it will not be something that we will have to wait on. Eric, we will be able to work with the cleaning service on getting a contract cleaner from them to come in and serve as the cleaning custodian during the time that we are open. So they will get there before we open, at about an hour before, make sure the facility is ready and serviceable, and then they will be there during the duration of our open hours. And then they will, of course, come back later on that evening in order to make sure to clean up as per the contract states. They have been equipped with, the kind of cleaning solvents and solutions that has been proven to be effective against the virus, and lots of other stuff to begin with. Our biggest concern, obviously, is, if we don't have the custodian, we can't open. That's really what it comes down to. There are, too many touch points in the library for our staff to keep up with, on top of which, it is not on the staff to do that. You can ask a staff person to, clean the service desk or the computer that they're working on or things of that nature. But cleaning the banisters, cleaning, the various different door handles or restroom facility, all that type of stuff. That's something that has to be done on a continual basis when the library is going to be in operation. And we can't expect the staff to be the ones to do that. That said, the biggest question for that is, how do we factor in custodians into the schedule, which is something that I'll be working out with Dimitri Paris, who's director of Parks and Rec, and he's also in control of the contract with the cleaning crew at this point. Let me quickly sort of go through the library reopening plan. To start with, I should note, when we do put this out for consumption of the general public, whatever we decide is in terms of reopening period, it is going to come with a clause that's going to state that, while we are moving to reopen, and we will, continue to reopen in phases as we move forward, adding more services in as we feel comfortable doing so, we will reserve the right to move backward and close things down if it becomes a problem in terms of being able to deliver services safely to the public. I put that in specifically, in regards, and this is not something that we're just doing, this is something that other libraries have recommended doing as well, simply because, if we have issues in terms of people not following the rules, or if we find there's other issues that are out there, and we're going to need to have a means of tackling that. Yes, Julia?
Stefan, in our close vicinity, are there other libraries that have opened, and what has their experience been?
Okay, so the ones that are truly open, that are close to us, is Stratford and Fairfield. Those are the two most similar, at least in terms of what they're doing and what we're planning on doing. Their experiences have been fairly good. Their biggest issues have been patron behavior, as opposed to problems with the facility or staff. I'll go into that a little further. The Fairfield Library is open only for 2 hours a day, and from 2 until 4. So I understand that they're planning on possibly changing that. The Stratford Library is open from 11 until 4, so they have quite a longer time span of service. Because I will say the Stratford Library is somewhat unique in the sense that they never closed down officially. They had staff going into that building the entire time from the closure to the public up until now, meaning that all the part-time staff, all the full-time staff. So they're working with a full ship, as it were, whereas we are a little over halfway in terms of the number of people that we have working right now. That said, they are operating also with this team-based model that we have, which essentially means that you have a cohort of staff that work together, and they're separated from the other staff members. So for us, we have a administrative team that works in the morning between Louis, I, Judy, and Cindy Joyce. And then in the afternoon, you have 2 other teams that come in to do the curbside delivery service. One is led by Mary Rogers, and the other one is led by Megan Morrell. The great thing about that is that should something happen where a staff member gets sick, you can then quarantine that entire cohort and hopefully stop the spread of the virus. And thereby you're controlling for events and not impacting the services that you have. Unfortunately, the problem with that is that now you're operating at less than half the staff that you have available to you, and how is that going to impact what you're able to deliver? With Fairfield, they do not operate in teams. They have complete full-time all the time with all of their employees. But they also are only operating with full-time staff members. They do not have any part-time staff members at this point in time. Obviously, there's some benefits to that in the sense that you can, rely on having a full set of staff to deal with every single problem. But at the same time, there are some serious concerns there in terms of practicality moving forward, especially with the risk factor involved. We don't have an option, I should note, in the sense that the town has decreed that this is how we're going to be operating. Our best hope right now, and I've talked to them several times, is trying to get our greeters. Currently, that we have 3 town employees, or the part-time employees, that work for the library that are serving as greeters at the town hall. They understand that we want them back, and they've actually talked to them, and the staff that are over there do want to come back to the library. And they are also working on a long-term solution for getting those people back to us, but also getting a long-term solution for themselves so that they can have somebody in those greeted positions moving forward. I'm optimistic that we will have them sooner, but it's probably not going to happen by the time that we open. The biggest problem for us is, manpower. And that's the question that we won't have an answer to until we open to the public. And that question is, how many people do we really need to have in the building? And are we going to be able to then still do curbside to the level that we have been doing it? I will say our curbside service puts the other libraries that I know of to shame. We are really putting out a whole lot more than anybody else has. Most of them operate off of an appointment basis, which is what we tried initially, but we quickly got swamped by the number of requests. The average library out there does about 80 people per day. We do 250 or more. So that's where we get as many as we do. And it's good. I mean, we're very happy with the response, and the public is quite satisfied with that level of access to the collection. At least, obviously, we have a lot that want to come into the building, but you know, we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. So let me get back to the plan real quick. I should note, in terms of you know, how things are going at those other libraries. Neither library reported having more than 20 people in the building at any one point in time. So although they open to the public, it hasn't been this huge draw. You know, people are coming in and they are checking things out, but they're not staying for a long time because they're not able to. You know, I think only Fairfield at this point in time has a publicly available computer for people to access. But at the same time, you know, the relationship has been strictly, you know, come in and, you know, browse, pick out what you want, and then check it out, and then move on from there. And as a result, that has, you know, made it so that it's a lot more manageable. That said, we are Trumbull, and people like to go to the library, so it could be that we have a whole lot more people wanting to come in. I don't know yet. That's the problem. Until we open the doors, nobody's really, we don't have anything to compare it to. You know, I will say I met with Mary Rogers and Megan and Lewis today, and you know, both were quick to point out that, you know, we did have this very high circling curbside, but it's quite possible that people will want to keep doing the curbside at that level and just have a few people come in through the door. You know, on the other hand, you know, I also have a lot of people who are saying, you know, I really want to have that library experience. I want to be able to come in and bring my child and have them pick out what they want to read and that type of stuff. And I'm sympathetic to that. But that's also why we're going to have to maintain some strict control over the traffic in and out of the building. That, which brings us to the other part here. You know, we're going to have a greeter at the door in order to help control traffic. That, you know, that person will be charged with trying to make sure that there are no more than 25 people in the building to start. You know, coming in and then, you know, taking the tally down once they walk out the building. There will only be one entrance and exit to the building through the front doors, partly because those doors are automatic, so you don't have to touch them, versus the children's room doors, which are, you know, manually operated. You'll only be able to check out at the main circulation desk. The children's desk will not be accessible for that purpose. While we will have a staff member located in each of those different sections and at the information desk, the only point of exit will still be going through that main door. You know, that in addition to making sure that, you know, the greeter tells people when they come into the building that they have to wear a mask and that they have to social distance, is going to be the biggest factors for making sure that we do this operation safely.
Are you going to take temperatures?
We are not taking temperatures, no. That was one of the things that we had talked about, but they don't do that at town hall, so we're not doing that here. We will have a contact tracing sheet for people to sign in when they come into the building. We have a hand sanitizer station throughout the building that have been installed over the summer. So we have more than enough, you know, places for them to clean. We had asked about personal protective gear. We will have extra, you know, masks available in the sorry, somebody's walking up the stairs. we will have extra masks and gloves available at the greeters desk. So when people come in and they're not wearing a mask, we will tell them, please make sure you wear a mask. And if they don't have one, we will provide them one. If they want to wear gloves to go through the collection, we will have that available to them as well. That's one of the things that is more, icing on the cake, I think, than is actually going to be utilized. For most part, the experience over at Town Hall has been that 99% of the people cooperate, and then there's going to be a few people who either forgot to bring their mask, or there's people who are confused about the whole thing. But I don't think that is really a question at this point.
So,
That might be more of a
Stefan,
yes.
Stefan, will I would assume the bathrooms have to be available?
Yes, yeah. Public bathrooms do have to be available in any building. That said, we can dictate which bathrooms they're going to be going to, meaning that, there's a restroom that's listed as publicly available for them in the lobby, as well as the one in the children's room, and staff have separate restrooms elsewhere. Overall, that will be something that we will tackle as we go, but the biggest thing there is the cleaning crew. Whoever we get as a custodian to take care of the building while we are open is going to be the biggest challenge.
Stefan, what is 50% occupancy? What is the total?
Right.
What's the number that we can have?
So that number would be insanely high. So if you think about how many people can fit into the library and then you divide them by half. So we're not going by that number. And that's actually one of the things that the other libraries also said was that, the numbers that that was basically based on the guidelines given by the state. But that makes it completely unmanageable. And we don't have that many people in there, even if we were open without COVID-19. So we're going to place a cap of 25 people at any given time in the building at this point. And then moving forwards, we might relax that as we go. That said, this plan was really developed with the idea in mind that we were going to be stricter to begin with, in terms of services, in terms of population and traffic. And then, if we felt that we wanted to be able to add these services back in, and some of them we do, but we would be able to do so without, at our own pace, as opposed to bringing everything back at the same time. So like 25 people is actually roundabout middle where other libraries are. And I think it's a doable amount. There was one suggestion, and this one was played around with by a few different libraries throughout the state, is like some of them have a requirement that, only one family member per family is allowed inside the building, which obviously dictates that you can't have a kid in there. The problem, well, it makes sense for some libraries, and I'm not entirely discounting that. But for if you have a very small library system or a very small library, then yes, that probably is a better choice. But with ours, what we're going to end up with is two problems. One, you're going to have issues where, an elderly patron is coming in and, they're not comfortable leaving their wife or their husband in their car for them to wait while they're going along and browsing materials and things of that nature. And, vice versa, you will run into the problem where you have, a mother and her baby, and all of a sudden you're telling the mother that no, you have to leave the baby in the car, and that's also not going to be good. It hasn't been an issue for the libraries who have implemented a policy where they allow everybody in the building. It's more, about making sure that they understand that social distancing must be respected at all points in time, regardless of the age, and making sure that they're maintaining their mask on at all times. Those things haven't been, and then this goes back to the incidents that have occurred at these other facilities. Most of them have been completely in regards to personal behavior issues that have arisen. Not children running amok as much as that, but people who blatantly do not want to wear the masks or are making a point of, having an argument about something or other, dissatisfaction with the services that are being offered, things of that nature. I will say we're going to have the staff do a COVID-19 training that is offered by a company that actually specializes in how to handle homeless people and angry people and everything else. They also put together a training seminar for how to handle people who are, in COVID-19 circumstances, and in a productive way, so that you're not just yelling at them to get them to do what you want them to do, but actually compelling them in a way that is going to work. And I have high hopes for it. Obviously, it might backfire on me completely, but at least it's something, and we're hoping it will be effective in meeting that challenge.
I have a few questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so regarding signage, I presume we're going to have like big signs at the front that say masks required
We
per
already
CDC.
do.
Yeah. And then I believe I read in your opening plan that the only thing people can do is come in and browse and check out. No, they can't sit down, they can't congregate.
Correct.
So will all of the seating have either signage on it that says, don't sit here?
There will
Just
not
so
even
that-
be seating. We're
Okay.
going to be removing it. It will be located. We're going to take it and put it on the stage in the community room, or
Okay.
they will take it down into the play area of the children's room, which
Okay.
pains me greatly because that was one of the best places on the planet as far as I was concerned. But for right now, we're not going to be able to have kids playing.
Yeah. And then is there a recommended time limit, asking people to try to limit their visit to 15 minutes or something of that nature?
So, this varies from library to library. Some have like a 15-minute thing, which I think is a little too short. Most have things in place that say 30 minutes as a requirement. But this is one of the things that we were talking about today. It's and most of the people, they're really there for, I need a book on X, Y, and Z, or I need this by this author, or I would like 5 books on, how to plant a garden.
Right.
That's what we anticipate for most part. If we get questions that are more reference in nature, research in nature, we will take down their information and then do the research and then get back to them over the telephone or via email or whatever it might be. But the idea here being that we move them along, and that we're not having them stand in front of us for 30 minutes. We are sensitive that that is some of the services that real people really want, but there's for most part there's no reason why we can't satisfy some of those things either online or over the telephone, and that's what we have been doing anyways, but just trying to cut down on those in-person contact environments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then managing the traffic of, Trumbull Library is going to be the hottest club in town, right? So there's probably going to, at some points, there may be a line. Do you anticipate any kind of floor signage or something for social distancing as people are waiting, or any kind of like roping system or anything like that?
We're going to have to get creative. We already have some guideposts that we already have in there.
Mhm.
but we're going to have to put something down on the ground, either using duct tape or something. There were some fancy signs. I don't really trust them, partly because I can easily see we have carpet. They're not going to last that long.
Yeah.
So I figure going with some sort of, like nicely done duct tape or something of that nature will be far more useful.
Kelly, were you thinking more of people outside who, because we're putting a limit of 25 people at a time, the greeter would manage the flow of who
Well,
comes in and who
I mean,
comes-
I think that's a real possibility that, that as people are waiting,
Oh,
if it's like a one in, one out kind of a
That's
thing,
right.
right? Then you're like, sorry, we're at capacity, hang
Yeah.
on. I mean,
Just
you see this at Trader Joe's all the time. I just was shopping at the outlets a month ago and you had to wait in line at every store to get in.
Yeah, Home Depot
So
had it
it's-
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's very,
Right.
people understand that it's a thing, but I do think, Stefan, to your point, the families are probably some of the people that are needing the physical space, just because it's harder to say like, oh, I want to, for children. So like, obviously there's going to be, and especially depending on what your time frame is for being open. And now that many of us are home many days a week, I would anticipate that people are going to be bringing children pretty frequently in, since we haven't had access to specific, to being able to browse the collection for a long time.
The other, the one thing that we haven't really figured out is how to have people, wait outside and do curbside and have the location for people to drop off their books at the book drop.
Right.
That's going to be an interesting sort of origami thing, and I'll let you know how it looks after we're done with it. But I think that we can do it. It's just a matter of, we have a lot of sidewalk chalk and some cones and things that we can put out there. Hopefully, we'll work on something, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it up and we'll figure something else out. The other hope that we have is that we've been really busy with curbside. We're hoping that if we do reopen, even for a small amount of time, and the fact that the Trumbull public school system is now back in session, at least in a hybrid model, that will lend itself to having at least a reduced dependency on curbside, so we won't quite have as much. That said, obviously, we're going to need to keep offering it for people who just don't feel comfortable coming into the building. Yep.
They move the curbside to the children's entrance? It's a very high traffic zone coming in the main door.
I thought of
That is another option. At least we'll be able to control for that. That said, though, right now we've been using that children's entrance as our drop-off point for the mail and deliveries and things of that nature. Simply because we could, we have a vestibule where the deliveries can be delivered, but the second set of double doors can be locked. And then we kind of come in after they leave, and it's been working very well, but kind of be at hard pains to give it up if we can. Yep.
Are the Trumbull school libraries checking books out to kids?
My understanding is that they're using the libraries for the staff to have their breaks because the staff rooms are too small.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to do like a cart kind of situation where they bring the books to the kids' classrooms.
But they can check out from that.
Yeah, so I think they will be circulating books eventually, but I think the kids are not going to be able to go into the libraries.
No,
But at least not at Middlebrook. I don't know what the other
don't-
elementary schools are planning.
Kelly, I agree with you. I think they're using the library space for extra classroom or teaching space or for the teachers.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know. We have to go through a week. I mean, they're just starting tomorrow with the, cohort
I'm
B.
just thinking that
Cohort B going tomorrow.
I know. Cohort B
I just
goes
was
tomorrow.
thinking that if kids could check out books at, from a cart or whatever it is, that will ease also somewhat our responsibility. But I had another sort of suggestion, Stefan. People are are, as you know, I'm sure, really anxious and sometimes irrational and angry lately. You know, it's just the mood of the times. And so I've seen people make comments about the library not being open and the schools are open and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I wonder on our website if it's possible to have, you know, kind of updates, like here's where we are right now. Here's what we're hoping to do. Here's, you know, the thinking of it, because I think that might help people. I think part of what people are feeling right now is this is endless. We're never going to get back to anything. So, you know, part of that's the library, of course.
I will say that, you know, the big thing that we're actually waiting on right now, so it's two things. One, of course, is the custodian issue, but that isn't as big of an issue. You know, I've talked to Dimitri. We've already laid out the plans. You know, he has already had, you know, interactions with other departments in terms of, you know, being able to offer this sort of service. He believes firmly that, you know, we could get them set up very quickly in terms of just a matter of days. The biggest problem that we have right now is the plexiglass sneeze guards that need to be installed. We had taken a look at a bunch of different freestanding ones that unfortunately would not work. So we have plexiglass guards that are going to be installed hanging from the ceiling. So these are going to be like sheets that will, you know, basically come down from, you know, like hung from the ceiling, but they would be covering up to just a few inches off the desk itself. So you'd be able to pass books underneath the plexiglass guard. And, you know, we anticipate those ones have been ordered. We have already had Dimitri, well, the maintenance crew, I should say, they've come in and they've already installed bars in order to hang these different things. Honestly, we're hoping that we'll be able to install those things in the next week or two.
Actually, you are. I'm not criticizing.
No. It's just one of those things, though. It's like, if we put that out to the general public, you know, what sort of promises are we making as a result? You know,
I don't think, yeah, I don't know. I personally just think you're taking more of a hammering by not being, you know, communicative, just even, you know, a little bit like we're doing our best, you know, we're hoping to be up soon. You know, you can be vague, but I you know, people talk about other libraries that are open and, you know, I mean, it's social media, so you take it with a grain of salt, but I do think even just communicating like why we're not open and what we're doing to try to get open, I think that's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, well, yes, I agree to a degree, but you know, there's other issues there behind, you know, just how things work with that. You know, like, you know, as I mentioned before with Eric, you know, leaving, you know, I don't want to put that type of information out unless, you know, it's really relevant to anybody.
I think you want to caution how much you put out. You should run it by Vicky, I think, in terms of how much you want to share in terms of our pitfalls or challenges and where we are, because I think also, I think you're right. People may say, oh, well, this is what's holding us up. Well, let's get on to, you know, there's so many pros and cons on how much you want to share with that.
There's been so much criticism of the Board of Ed for lack of communication. I just don't want the library to fall to that, you know.
No,
I understand what Julia is saying. We want to try to combat things that are negative and falsely negative, so to speak, because we are trying our best to serve our community. And I think one thing that could really be fun is if we have a daily count, like you just said, serving 250 people average. I drive by there all the time. I'm so impressed, Stefan, with all the bags lined up so beautifully. Everything seems so orderly. Cars drive up. And like, that would be kind of a fun thing to say, hey, we served 250 people today, and we look forward to serving you in person in the future.
And
Actually, you know, as soon as we can.
Those would be great photographs, and the books going out to people at home. All of that's good PR for the library.
Yes. I agree with you that we should capitalize on that a little bit more. I don't usually am one to boast of these things, so it's it puts me in an uncomfortable position. Anyway,
I don't know, maybe we could get a picture of Bill Chin's adorable boy at
I
the
know.
committee meeting, so well behaved. What a cutie.
He just went to bed. So,
I should finish this by saying we've been in contact with the administration a lot this week, a lot last week, and we are gearing up to hopefully have a announcement to make in terms of reopening very soon. I obviously can't give a date because we haven't finished installing these other things, but hopefully after that. I have been talking to Megan and Mary, and the staff are fully aware that this is the direction that we're going in, but it was just a matter of time for us to be able to connect these other aspects of the position. And I do appreciate that people do want us to be open, but I will warn you in the sense that I've talked to some of these other libraries, and the very first thing that they will tell you is that you're open, great. Why isn't this part of the building open? Or when can I have my club meet here? And all the other questions. I am sensitive to the fact that we need to be more communicative, but there's also a sense that we are dealing with a uniquely special environment at the moment. It's not, and there are some credible questions in terms of is this the sort of service that we should have at this time? What makes the most sense for most people? And what sort of things are relevant to the town of Trumbull as consumers, and I know that we are not we're not as early adopters as some of these other libraries, but I think that we have been very good at delivering the type of things that they've actually been looking for in terms of doing curbside the way that we have been doing it. I will say the other models have been working for some of these places, but a lot of them are still playing catch up, whereas we are ahead of the game. Yep.
I wanted to ask also, will we be open some weekend hours at least?
We've been talking about that. I will say, when we reopen, it will be within the confines of the schedule that we currently have. But we have already talked about adding nighttime hours, maybe on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and adding weekend hours as well. And we think that that is entirely doable. The biggest aspect of that is, staff members, making sure we have enough coverage. I just don't want to make changes to that schedule before we have a really good understanding of how many people are walking through that door.
I just want to make a plug for working parents.
I understand, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. We initially were talking about doing opening hours from 2 to 5 o'clock. And then we thought, well, maybe we could do it 3 to 6. And then we were like, but we need more time at the end of the day in order to make sure that things are clean and ready to go for the next day. We're tinkering with the thing as we go. And it's not because we don't want to be able to serve people, but because we don't want to also screw the whole thing up. Like being able to deliver with curbside is still going to be a big part of this. And it's still a huge undertaking. We think we're going to be able to manage it, but at the same time, we don't want to get to that level of, sacrificing part of that operation and making a mistake.
Yeah. I have a question off the beam. Have you had any closure to our friends at the library? Because I know
Oh,
The
Yeah.
Friends?
So they've been coming in and well, two things. One is they've been getting in touch with some of the local like online booksellers, like people who professionally go into book sales and they'll pick up like cartons of stuff and then they'll sell it online for a profit. So a few of them have come in and taken materials out, but the big thing is that they are donating large portions of the materials that they have to nonprofits like the Kennedy Center, the hospital, and a few other places. I should say the Kennedy Center is taking a lot of the materials and giving it to them for their book sales instead. You know, we are going to maintain a certain amount, but the goal here is that, you know, that will no longer be part of the operation moving forward. We'll be able to have an internal book sale like we have, but the goal is, you know, that part of the Friends will not be there anymore. The goal, and I should add, you know, we were supposed to have a big book sale back in June, which obviously never happened due to everything that went on. And we wanted to take this summer as an opportunity to rebuild the Friends with a new cadre of people who was going to be more, you know, oriented on doing fundraisers using like other means. And I think that is still the direction we want to go in, but there's no fundraisers going on right now.
No.
And
Everything's
trying to
down.
get that type of group together at this point, I think is not going to happen.
My
Yep.
understanding is there are several little free libraries in town now.
Yes.
And that may be an opportunity to put a nice label on some of those books, like support the Friends of the library, and just pump them into those little free libraries on a regular basis. So that might be something to consider for them.
No, actually, there was a Boy Scout who wanted to do a project, and we have him creating 2 free little libraries that are going to be placed on trails in the local parks. So that'll be another start for that.
Cool.
But I like that idea, yes. You know, like we've already talked to Parks and Rec about, you know, trying to feed books into those things. Okay,
Okay.
any other questions? I know that this is kind of an opaque mess, but some of the answers to these questions can only be answered after we open the doors.
You know, Stefan, I had a question on the website. That's up and running, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
change. And that is, when I go on it, it resembles the governments of the town, the green on the top. Is that how it looks? Or am I not going to the right thing?
No, it does have that same green across the top, but it is a fully functional separate website.
And when you go on it, we have to enter with our barcode now
Okay.
to log in.
Let me-
Well, I don't know. I used to always just log in and I had my password and everything, and then it switches to a barcode. So I have to get the barcode off the back of my library card in order, and it doesn't keep it. It doesn't remember it. So you have to keep entering your barcode each time you go in.
So that I
Yeah,
think
there
might
it is,
be-
right.
that might be a problem with your browser, or maybe a setting on your browser where it's not saving that information. Like
Okay,
it saves it for me, but I'm using, like, this is I should say this is Google Chrome, and
okay.
I didn't change any of the default settings. But you know, once I click here and press login, it comes into my account.
It comes in automatically. Okay, because I've been trying it for the past couple of days, and then I had to keep entering. It didn't save it. So maybe I'll check it out and see what's going on with my end of it. But that's why I wanted to just clarify that with you.
Right.
Okay, all right. Okay, John, treasurer's report?
Well, no surprise, the financial activity, the board has been pretty small over these months of July and August. It turns out that to that, you didn't get any spreadsheets for the last 2 months for good reason, because it isn't worth the trouble to try and fill them out. So just trust me when I'm telling you what I know, and I'm not making it up. The income during these 2-month period was nil. It's less than $300. Nothing in July and $285 in August. And that monies came from a couple of memorial donations, and also from the sales of the literary competitions compilation of works. We got $85 for that. Matching the low income, the expenditures are also very small, less than $2,000. In that, the whole Holy Fund covered the purchase of books to a tune of about $1,000, and Merwin paid for an incidental program expense, like $100, and that's it for the funds. The board funds covered prizes for the summer reading program that the library ran for about $500, and we also paid for 2 months dumpster rental. Not much to say, but that's all we did over the last 2-month period. End of the report.
Any questions, anyone? Okay, thanks, John. Nancy, Mary's not here. Nancy, anything about the Fairchild?
Well, our board has met both months, July and August. We were blessed with nice weather and we could meet outdoors. So we all brought our chairs and enjoyed each other's company, as well as Stefan's creative mass and seeing each other. I would say, the Fairchild Library is closed because of the virus, and our managing person is working as part of the staff at the Quality Street Library, part of a team. Which team is she on, Stefan?
She's on the A team. But I should know that she also goes back and works at the Fairchild Library on the days that she's not there.
Yeah.
So.
And there are books, there are books that when people request titles, some of those are from the Fairchild Library that go out in the bags that you see in front for pickup. So those books are circulating all the time with all the books from the main library, and we had, remember the big storm that we had whenever it was, when all the lights went out in Trumbull? Iya.
Yes. August.
Okay, I don't have the date in front of me, but remember, we won't forget that storm. At that time, we had a wonderful happening at the branch, and that the elevator went out too. It was not broken, but the electrical when we had all the lightning and the electrical issues, it knocked out our elevator. So Paula had to carry the books down the stairs. So we're still having some issues with the elevator. But it's back in service now. I think it was out for a week, but the building was closed, and so it didn't. Poor Paula had to carry all these books, but she survived.
Oh boy.
Do you have any questions? Mary has been gone. Mary Santilli has been away all summers. And so she didn't make our meetings, and I haven't had a chance to talk to her, which says something about our meeting before. Well, we haven't done anything with the logo idea. We haven't met, and that's another issue, I know.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. The logo has to, yeah, you guys have to get together on that one, right?
Yeah, it didn't seem like everything else was so up in the air that it just didn't seem the time. Carol and Mary and I decided way a long time ago that everything was so up in the air that it didn't seem time to try to move that issue right now. So that was June, I think, when we talked about that.
Okay,
right, Carol? Was that
All right.
June? Anyway,
okay, in time. But it'll all work out in the end at some
Right.
point. How about the community center? Do we have anything to report on that, Julia?
Yeah, and just to piggyback a little on what Nancy said, there are a lot of educators in this group and former educators, and I think a lot of us are calling this the summer that wasn't, because
That's right.
it was a really rough summer. I'm sure Mary had her hands full. So the community center meetings and the plans are on ice right now, I think, because I think part of it is that, we're not really sure economically where we are. And,
Oh.
a lot of our town residents are in a precarious position right now. So that we have not met. And I know, I'll let you know as soon as we do.
Not a problem. It's certainly understandable. Everything is on hold, that's for sure. I don't think there was anything else on old business that we needed to bring up. Was there anything anyone remembered from the last time we had a Zoom meeting? I can't. And then under new business, the only thing I was going to ask you, Stefan, I'm not certain how many people know about Judy's accident. How is she doing? Or at least explain what happened.
Yeah, so Judy was in a car accident in Fairfield the other day. I should say not this past weekend, but the weekend before, on Saturday, and she wasn't driving. It was her daughter who was driving the car. Somebody came out from a side road apparently and was trying to go all the way across traffic, and T-boned their car she was sitting on the passenger side, so it was coming onto the passenger side. She is okay in the sense that she's not in the hospital or anything, but she did hurt her hand, and she's been out this week and last week, and she will probably be coming back on Monday.
Okay. And I was thinking I probably would send a card to her from the library board. That's all right with everyone, right?
Good idea, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, anything else? So can I have a motion to adjourn? Or do you all want to keep looking at each other? I don't know. What do we want to do? I'm sure the teachers want to get to bed to
Well,
prepare for tomorrow.
I would just like to say, Stefan,
Joe.
great job. Great job. I
Agreed.
know it
It's a
hasn't been
lot.
fun. It's been lonely. It's been difficult. And Bill, you too, being around 24/7 for the different committees. So thank you, everybody. And I can't wait to see the board in person.
I know.
Thank
Sit
you,
in that
Bill and
meeting
Stefan.
room, you know?
All
Right,
right.
everybody.
We have a motion to adjourn, please.
so moved.
Who was that? Nancy?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Second.
Everybody want to keep talking? All right. Okay. Meeting's
Joe.
closed. Thank you.
Wait a minute,
everybody.
who seconded it?
I seconded.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, obviously. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.